Professor Zachary Miller stared at his tablet in disbelief. The blue light from the screen lit up his small office as evening settled outside his window. His coffee had gone cold hours ago, forgotten as soon as the strange message arrived. "This can't be real," he said to the empty room. On his screen was an invitation to the Galactic Scientific Assembly, a gathering of the most brilliant minds from across known space. And somehow they had invited him, a regular xenobiologist from a small university in Vermont, whose work was barely noticed even by his own colleagues. Zach rubbed his tired eyes and read the invitation again. The event would take place on Concordia Station, a massive structure orbiting a neutral star system controlled by the Centaurian Alliance. 3 days of lectures, discussions, and networking with scientists from 17 different alien species. "There has to be a mistake," he muttered. He scrolled through the agenda, checking for any clue about why they might want him there. Most sessions focused on topics far beyond his expertise: quantum gravity manipulation, faster-than-light communication theories, and bioengineering for extreme environments. Then his finger stopped scrolling. On the final day, there was a session titled Understanding Human Physiological and Psychological Vulnerabilities, a Comprehensive Analysis. The description mentioned strategic countermeasures and exploitation of inherent weaknesses. A chill ran down his spine. Relations with the various alien civilizations had been cautiously diplomatic since first contact 12 years ago. Humans were still the newcomers to galactic society, still proving themselves worthy of full inclusion in interstellar affairs. Earth remained isolated, with limited access to alien technology and knowledge. "This doesn't sound like a friendly scientific discussion," Zach said. Reading the description again, he forwarded the invitation to his department head, Dr. Patricia Lawson. While waiting for her response, he paced around his small office. The walls were covered with charts of alien biological systems and comparative anatomy diagrams. His work focused on communication patterns in non-human species. Nothing that should have caught the attention of the Galactic Assembly, his tablet chimed. Dr. Lawson had responded already. "Zach, this is important. The State Department is very interested in this invitation. Accept it immediately. Say nothing about the Human Vulnerability Seminar in your response. Go, observe, take notes, and report back. This is bigger than our university now. Government. Credentials will arrive tomorrow. Delete this message after reading." Zach sat down heavily in his chair. He was being asked to spy for Earth. He was just a scientist, not a secret agent. His hands shook slightly as he composed his acceptance message, keeping it short and professional. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur. Government officials came to brief him. They installed a tiny neural recorder behind his new technology that would store everything he saw and heard. They coached him on what to say and what to avoid. They warned him about alien customs and potential traps. "Remember, Professor Miller, you're just a scientist attending a conference," said Agent Karen Bell from Diplomatic Security. "Show interest in their work. Ask questions. But don't reveal too much about yourself or Earth, and most importantly, pretend you know nothing about that final seminar." Now, as Zach stood in the departure lounge of the International Spaceport, he wondered if he was making a terrible mistake. The few humans who had visited alien stations had all been high-level diplomats or specialists. Protected by treaties and security teams, he would be almost entirely on his own. "Final boarding call for Shuttle XC-42 to Lunar Transfer Station," announced the pleasant voice over the speakers. "All passengers for Concordia Station, please proceed to Gate 7. Zach picked up his small bag and joined the line. Besides himself, there were only 3 other humans boarding, all government officials, heading to the small Earth embassy on Concordia. They nodded politely but kept their distance, following protocol to avoid associating with him too closely. The shuttle ride to the Lunar Transfer Station took only 90 minutes. There they boarded the interstellar vessel that would take them to Concordia. The ship was clearly of alien design, with curved walls and gravity that felt slightly stronger than Earth normal. The few humans aboard were given a separate section with accommodations. Suited to their needs, Zach spent most of the 3-day journey studying the conference materials and reviewing what little information Earth had about the attending species. He tried to memorize the complex diplomatic protocols for each alien group, but there were simply too many details. "I'm going to offend someone within 5 minutes of arrival," he said to himself as he practiced the proper greeting gestures for Arcturians. On the final day of travel, the captain announced they were approaching Concordia Station. Zach joined other passengers in the observation lounge. What he saw took his breath away. Concordia wasn't just a space station, it was a small artificial world. The massive ring structure rotated slowly, creating gravity in its outer sections. Spires and domes protruded from its surface, glittering with lights and colors human eyes had never evolved to properly process. Ships of various designs moved around it like busy insects around a hive. "First time seeing Concordia?" asked one of the Earth diplomats who had broken protocol to stand next to him at the viewport. "Yes," Zach replied, unable to look away from the magnificent structure. "It's something, isn't it? Built by the combined efforts of 7 species over 20 years. Humans weren't even invited to the opening ceremony 5 years ago." The diplomat lowered his voice. "Whatever you're here to do, Professor, remember that everything out there is more advanced and more dangerous than it appears. Trust no one." With that ominous warning, the diplomat moved away, leaving Zach alone with his thoughts as the ship began its final approach. The docking procedure took nearly an hour. After passing through a series of security scans and atmospheric adjustments, passengers were finally allowed to disembark. Zach followed the signs to the human-compatible section of the station, where the air pressure and composition were maintained within parameters safe for Earth life. At the reception desk, a being that appeared to be made entirely of shifting blue light checked his credentials. "Professor Zachary Miller of Earth," the being said, its voice somehow appearing directly in Zach's mind. "You are assigned to accommodation block H7, suitable for human physiology. Your conference credentials have been loaded into this station access device." The being handed him what looked like a simple metal bracelet. "The Galactic Scientific Assembly welcomes you. May your knowledge grow and be shared." As Zach walked toward his assigned quarters, he noticed how few humans there were compared to the diverse array of alien beings moving through the station. Some floated rather than walked. Others moved on multiple limbs or glided on secreted slime. Communication happened in flashes of light, sense, vibrations, and sounds beyond human hearing range. He was truly in alien territory now. And somewhere on this station, beings from across the galaxy were preparing to discuss how best to exploit human weaknesses, unaware that in just 2 days, one of those supposedly vulnerable humans would be sitting in their audience, recording everything they said. Zach touched the nearly invisible bump behind his ear where the neural recorder was implanted. "I hope you're getting all this," he whispered to the empty corridor, "because I have a feeling things are about to get very interesting." Zach woke up to strange lights pulsing on his ceiling. For a moment, he forgot where he was. Then it all came back to him. He was on Concordia Station, surrounded by aliens, preparing to spy on a secret seminar about human weaknesses. "Station. Morning cycle beginning," announced a soft voice from nowhere. "Atmosphere and lighting adjusted for your species requirements." He got up from the bed, which had adjusted itself during the night to better support his human spine. The room was simple but comfortable, with everything designed to accommodate various alien physiologies. The walls could change color and texture, the temperature adjusted automatically. Even the food dispensers could create meals suitable for different biochemistries. After washing and dressing, Zach checked the conference schedule on his station device. The first day would be filled with general sessions about interspecies cooperation and scientific exchange. The human vulnerability seminar wasn't until the 3rd day. That gave him time to blend in and learn the layout of the station. "Let's get this started," he said to himself. Touching the neural recorder behind his ear to make sure it was working, the main conference hall was enormous. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy gathered in clusters, communicating in ways Zach could barely comprehend. some used translator devices. Others relied on universal mathematical symbols displayed on floating screens. A few species communicated through changing skin colors or pheromones. Zack felt overwhelmingly alone in this alien crowd. He spotted a few other humans, but they kept their distance. They were likely diplomats or official representatives, not scientists like him. A bell-like sound indicated the opening session was about to begin. Zack found a seat designed for humanoid bodies and settled in. The lights dimmed, and a holographic display activated above the central stage. "Welcome, knowledge seekers," said a tall, six-limbed being with iridescent skin. "I am Grand Facilitator Krelver of the Centaurian Alliance. We gather here to share wisdom across the stars. For 3 days we will learn from each other and strengthen the bonds between our worlds." Krelver's eyes, all 7 of them, seemed to scan the audience. For a moment, Zack felt like those alien eyes were looking directly at him. He shrank into his seat. "Today we focus on shared knowledge. Tomorrow, practical applications, and the final day—" Krelver paused, specialized topics of particular interest. The opening presentations were interesting but not controversial. Speakers from various worlds discussed advances in physics, biology, and computational systems. Zack took notes, genuinely fascinated by some of the concepts. He almost forgot why he was really there. During the lunch break, Zack visited one of the food stations marked as safe for human consumption. As he collected his meal, something that looked like blue rice with purple vegetables, he noticed a blue-skinned alien watching him with obvious interest. The being approached, moving with fluid grace. It, or rather she, based on the translator badge's pronoun indicator, had 4 arms and multiple eyes that blinked in different patterns. "You are from Earth," she said. Her voice came through the translator with a musical quality. "I am Nixlara, xenobiologist from Centauri Prime." Zack almost dropped his tray. "A fellow xenobiologist, and from the very species hosting the Human Vulnerability Seminar." "Zachary Miller," he replied, trying to sound casual. "Also a xenobiologist focusing on communication patterns." "How fascinating. We have similar research interests." Nixara's eyes blinked rapidly. "Humans rarely attend these gatherings." "You must be exceptional to receive an invitation." "It was just lucky, I guess," Zack said, forcing a smile. "My work isn't that important." "Nonsense. The selection committee is very particular." She gestured to an empty table. "Would you share this meal cycle with me? I have many questions about human communication methods." For the next hour, Zack carefully answered Nixlara's questions about human language, expressions, and social cues. He tried to provide accurate information without revealing anything that could be used against Earth. Meanwhile, he asked his own questions about Centaurian biology and culture. "Your species is quite new to galactic society," Nixlara said as they finished eating. "There is much curiosity about humans. Some fear, some admiration, much uncertainty." "What do Centaurians think of us?" Zack asked, hoping to learn something. "Useful." Nixlara's eyes blinked in a pattern Zack couldn't interpret. "Official policy is positive. Unofficial opinions vary. Some believe humans advance too quickly without proper caution. Others find your adaptability ... concerning." "Concerning how?" "Most species evolve specialized strengths. Arcturians have physical power. Proxima Collective has perfect memory. Dramarians can see energy fields, but humans—" She paused. "Humans are not the best at anything, yet somehow adapt to everything. It is unusual." Before Zack could respond, a chime sounded, indicating the afternoon sessions were about to begin. "We should continue this discussion later," Nixlara said. "Perhaps at the evening reception?" Many would be interested to meet an Earth scientist. The afternoon passed quickly. Zack attended sessions on interspecies medicine and biological adaptation topics that might help him understand what the aliens knew about human physiology. He took careful notes, making sure his neural recorder caught everything. At one point, he noticed 2 tall Arcturians watching him from across a lecture hall. When he looked directly at them, they turned away. Were they just curious about a human, or was it something more? By the time the evening reception began, Zack was exhausted. from the mental effort of processing so much new information. The reception was held in a large dome with transparent walls showing the stars outside. Food and drink stations catered to different species' needs. Music that somehow appealed to multiple alien hearing ranges played softly, true to her word. Nixlara found him and introduced him to several other scientists. Most seemed genuinely interested in his work and asked reasonable questions, but a few seemed to probe for specific information about human limits and capabilities. Is it true humans can continue functioning after losing substantial amounts of blood? Asked the gelatinous being from the Proxima Collective. How quickly do humans recover from sleep deprivation? Inquired a reptilian Dramarian. What temperatures can your species tolerate without protection? Questioned a floating orb-like entity that communicated through pulsing lights. Zack answered carefully, providing only information that would be available in any basic xenobiology text. He noticed how these questions focused on human vulnerabilities exactly, what the upcoming seminar would discuss. Late in the evening, as the reception was winding down, Zack overheard two Arcturians talking nearby. Their translator devices weren't properly adjusted, allowing him to hear parts of their conversation. Final preparations for the human analysis session? Military applications beyond scientific interest. Strategic advantage if we understand their breaking points? Zack pretended to sip his drink while straining to hear more. The Arcturians moved away, their voices fading into the background noise of the reception. Back in his quarters, Zack encrypted a message to Dr. Lawson. First day complete. Multiple species showing interest in human limitations. Overheard references to military applications and strategic advantages. Seminar appears to have security implications beyond academic interest. Continuing surveillance. He lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling as the station's lights dimmed for the night cycle. Tomorrow would bring more general sessions, more careful conversations. But the real challenge waited on the third day, when he would sit among aliens discussing how to exploit human weaknesses, unaware that one of those supposedly vulnerable humans was recording everything they said. Zack touched the neural recorder behind his ear. I hope Earth is ready for whatever I discover, he whispered to the empty room, because I'm not sure I am. The second day of the conference went by quickly. Zack attended many sessions about space travel, alien biology, and new technology. He was careful to blend in, asking normal science questions and taking notes like any other attendee. But his mind was focused on the third day when the human weakness seminar would happen. During lunch, Nixlara found him again. The blue-skinned Centauran seemed genuinely interested in his work. You appear troubled, Zachary Miller, she said, her multiple eyes blinking in different patterns. Is the conference not meeting your expectations? It's fascinating, Zach replied, trying to sound sincere. Just a bit overwhelming. So many new species, so much information. Understandable. Humans have only known about other intelligent life for 12 years. Most species have centuries to adjust before attending galactic gatherings. Zack nodded and changed the subject. I've been looking at tomorrow's schedule. There's a session about humans that sounds interesting. Nixlara's eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of discomfort Zack had learned. Ah yes, the human analysis session. Perhaps not appropriate to discuss with a human present? Zack finished for her. I understand. Scientific objectivity and all that. You are not offended? Her voice carried surprise. Scientists study things objectively all the time. I'm sure it's purely academic. He kept his voice casual, though his heart was beating faster. Of course, Nixlara agreed, though she didn't sound convinced. Purely academic. Later that afternoon, Zack noticed more aliens watching him. An Arcturian followed him between sessions, keeping a few meters back. A floating orb from the Proxima Collective hovered near him during breaks. Were they suspicious of him, or just curious about a human? At the evening meal, Zack sat alone, needing time to think. Tomorrow was the big day. He would attend the seminar and record everything, gathering intelligence for Earth. But what if they didn't let him in? What if they recognized him as human, despite the conference credentials? His worries were interrupted when Grand Facilitator Krelver approached his table. The tall Centaurian moved with surprising grace for such a large being. "Professor Miller of Earth," Krelver said, his translator making his clicks and whistles into smooth English. "I trust you are finding the conference enlightening?" Zach stood quickly, remembering to bow in the Centaurian style from the middle, not the waist. "Very enlightening, Grand Facilitator. Thank you for the opportunity to attend. Your presence is valuable." Krelver's 7 eyes studied Zach intensely. "Humans rarely venture beyond your solar system. Your perspective enriches our gathering." "I'm honored to represent Earth science," Zach said carefully. "Yes, representation." Krelver made a sound that the translator didn't convert. "Enjoy the final day tomorrow, Professor Miller. I believe you will find it most educational." As Krelver walked away, Zach felt cold. The Grand Facilitator's words seemed to have a double meaning. Did he know why Zach was really here? Back in his room, Zach couldn't sleep. He checked his neural recorder 3 times to make sure it was working properly. He reviewed the conference schedule, planning exactly when to arrive at the seminar, not too early to stand out, but not too late to miss anything important. Morning came too quickly. Zach dressed in his most professional clothes and ate a quick breakfast. As he left his room, he noticed the corridor seemed emptier than previous days. The few aliens he passed watched him with what he interpreted as surprise or curiosity. The main conference areas were busy with activity. Most attendees were heading to various morning sessions. Zach checked the time. The human vulnerability seminar would begin in 30 minutes in Amphitheater 7. When he arrived at the amphitheater, Zach paused outside the entrance. Through the doorway, he could see hundreds of aliens taking their seats. The room was massive, with rows of adjustable seating arranged in a semicircle around a central stage. A large holographic display hovered above the stage, currently showing the seminar title, Understanding Human Physiological and Psychological Vulnerabilities, a Comprehensive Analysis. Taking a deep breath, Zach entered the room. No alarm sounded. No one stopped him. His conference credentials worked perfectly on the door scanner. He was in. Now came the tricky part. Where should he sit? The front rows would make him too visible. The back might seem suspicious, like he was hiding. Zach chose a seat in the 3rd row, carefully positioning himself between a massive Arcturian and a cluster of hovering Proxima entities. With these larger aliens around him, he hoped to attract less attention. The amphitheater filled quickly. Zach estimated at least 500 aliens were present, representing all 17 species at the conference. The level of interest in human weaknesses was disturbing. The lights dimmed. Grand Facilitator Krelver walked onto the stage. His exoskeleton gleamed under the spotlights as he activated the holographic display. A rotating human anatomical model appeared, showing internal organs, muscle systems, and skeletal structure in perfect detail. Distinguished colleagues, Krelver began, today we present our comprehensive analysis of human vulnerabilities, compiled from 12 years of covert observation and limited direct interaction. Zach's blood ran cold, but he maintained a neutral expression. The neural recorder behind his ear felt hot against his skin. Humans represent a potential disruptive force in galactic affairs, Krelver continued. While technologically primitive, they possess several concerning attributes: remarkable adaptability, unpredictable decision-making processes, and alarming reproductive rates. The audience made various sounds of agreement. Zach looked around carefully. No one was paying attention to him. They were all focused on Krelver and the human model rotating above the stage. Before we begin the detailed analysis, Krelver sighed, I must emphasize the sensitive nature of this information. What is shared here today could significantly impact galactic security if used improperly or if revealed to humans themselves. Several aliens nodded or made gestures of agreement. Zach kept perfectly still. We will begin with physical vulnerabilities, Krelver announced. Humans are remarkably fragile compared to most spacefaring species. For the next 30 minutes, Krelver methodically detailed human physiological weaknesses. temperature sensitivity, respiratory dependence, limited sensory capabilities, and slow reflexes compared to most aliens. The holographic model highlighted each weakness with red markers as he spoke. The audience chittered and clicked in what Zach recognized as amusement when Krelver demonstrated how easily human vision could be disabled with specific light frequencies. Their eyes can process only a narrow band of electromagnetic radiation, Krelver explained, showing a chart comparing human vision to other species. A simple pulse of ultraviolet light can temporarily blind them, making them helpless in combat situations. Zach wanted to object humans had technology to compensate for many of these limitations, but he remained silent. His job was to record, not reveal himself. But these physical limitations are merely the beginning, Krelver announced as he transitioned to the next section. The true vulnerabilities of humans lie in their psychological makeup. The holographic display changed to show brain scans and neural pathway models. Zach leaned forward slightly, his scientific curiosity momentarily overriding his caution. This was information even Earth scientists might not have. Humans are driven by emotions to a degree unusual among intelligent species, Krelver said. Their decision-making processes are frequently compromised by emotional responses that override logical analysis. As Krelver began dissecting human emotional responses, social structures, and decision-making patterns all framed as exploitable weaknesses, Zach gripped the armrests of his seat. Every word was being recorded, every diagram captured. Earth would finally know how the galactic community truly viewed humanity, and none of the aliens had noticed that one of those supposedly vulnerable humans was sitting right there, in the third row, learning all their plans. As Dr. Krelver continued his presentation, Zach listened carefully. Something felt wrong. The Centaurian scientist was making claims about human psychology that didn't match reality. His data about emotional responses seemed off. The breaking points he described were incorrect. The social patterns he outlined were based on flawed assumptions. Humans cannot function effectively without regular sleep cycles, Krelver explained. After only 36 hours without sleep, their cognitive abilities decrease by 70%. After 48 hours, they become completely non-functional. Zach knew this was wrong. Humans could push through sleep deprivation for much longer in emergency situations. The military had protocols for extended operations where soldiers remained effective far beyond 48 hours. Their social structures collapse under isolation, Krelver continued. When separated from other humans, individuals typically experience severe psychological breakdown within 5 to 7 days. Again, not true. While isolation was difficult for humans, many could endure it for weeks or months with proper preparation. Astronauts, submariners, and Arctic researchers regularly proved this. As the presentation went on, Zach realized something important. The aliens had fundamentally misunderstood humans. Their research contained critical errors. Almost everything in Krelver's presentation was slightly, crucially incorrect. The seminar broke for a short intermission. Attendees moved to refreshment areas or formed small discussion groups. Zach slipped away to a quiet corner, pretending to get a drink while processing his realization. If the Centaurians were basing strategic plans on this information, they were working with deeply flawed data. This was both good and bad news for Earth. Good because any plans based on these misconceptions would likely fail. Bad because the very existence of such plans confirmed the aliens' hostile intentions. As attendees filtered back into the amphitheater, Zach noticed something unexpected. A human woman entered through a side door. She moved confidently, wearing formal Earth diplomatic attire. It was Dr. Lydia Clark, Earth's official ambassador to the Centaurian Alliance. Their eyes met briefly across the room. Her presence wasn't coincidental. She gave him a tiny nod before taking a seat on the opposite side of the amphitheater. Zach returned to his seat, now even more confused. Was Ambassador Clark here officially? Did the aliens know about her presence? Was this all some kind of test? The second half of the seminar focused on what Krelver called containment strategies for humanity. The holographic display showed various scenarios for limiting human expansion beyond their solar system. The key to managing the human threat, Krelver explained, is technological restriction. By controlling their access to advanced propulsion and energy systems, we can effectively contain them to their home system for several more decades. The display showed Earth surrounded by a network of monitoring satellites and patrol routes. We already maintain surveillance of all potential jump points from their system, Krelver continued. Any unauthorized human vessels are redirected or disabled before they can reach galactic transit lanes. Zack glanced across the room at Ambassador Clark. Her face showed no reaction, but her hands were tight in her lap. Beyond physical containment, Krelver said, we must address the knowledge gap. Humans are learning at an accelerated rate. Their adaptability allows them to incorporate and improve upon technologies introduced to them. This presents both an opportunity and a risk. The display changed to show a chart of technology transfer recommendations, what could safely be shared with humans and what must be withheld. Controlled introduction of selected technologies will guide their development along predictable paths, Krelver explained. Meanwhile, critical advances in energy generation, gravity manipulation, and faster-than-light communication must be restricted for at least another century. An Arcturian near the front raised a limb. What of their weapons development? Humans show concerning creativity in this area. An excellent question, Krelver replied. Our monitoring indicates they have already developed several weapons concepts that no other young species has conceived. This creativity for violence is precisely why containment is necessary. The display showed images of Earth's military systems, many of which Zack recognized from news reports. However, Krelver continued, their weapons remain primitive compared to galactic standards. Their most powerful nuclear devices are toys compared to standard orbital defense systems used by any council member. This casual dismissal of Earth's defensive capabilities made Zack's stomach tighten. The aliens weren't just studying humans, they were planning how to control them. The final containment strategy, Krelver said, exploits their greatest weakness, their emotional attachment to individuals. Humans will sacrifice strategic advantage to save even a single life of vulnerability no rational species would maintain. The display showed scenarios where humans had abandoned advantageous positions to rescue isolated individuals. Zack recognized several historical events, including space missions that had been modified to save stranded astronauts at great cost and risk. But by targeting individuals important to their power structures, we can manipulate their decision-making, Krelver explained. They will consistently choose the safety of the individual over the strategic benefit of the group. Zack caught Ambassador Clark's slight smile from across the room. They both recognized the profound misunderstanding in Krelver's assessment. What the aliens saw as a weakness, humans often considered their greatest strength, the value placed on each life. As the question period began, various alien scientists approached the speaking platforms. Some asked about specific vulnerabilities. Others suggested refinements to the containment strategies. All spoke as if no human would ever hear their words. Zack noticed Ambassador Clark rising from her seat. She was walking toward one of the question platforms. Was she going to reveal herself? Would that put them both in danger? Before she reached the platform, Zack made a decision. He stood and walked to the nearest microphone. A hush fell over the amphitheater as he reached it. I have a question about your methodology, Zack said calmly. His voice echoing through the suddenly silent chamber. Dr. Krelver turned all 7 eyes toward him. For a moment the Centaurian simply stared, then his appendages stiffened in shock. Human, Krelver's voice carried through the translator with a note of alarm. How did you gain access to this restricted session? My invitation didn't mention any restrictions, Zack replied, holding up his conference credentials. I'm Professor Zachary Miller, xenobiologist from Earth, and I believe your analysis contains several critical errors. Gasps and clicks of alarm spread through the audience. Aliens turned to stare at him. Some moved away as if he might attack. Others leaned forward with obvious curiosity. Krelver's assistants hurried to his side, chittering urgently in their native language. "This session will be adjourned immediately," Krelver announced, his voice shaking slightly. "Security protocols have been breached." "Before we adjourn," came a clear voice from the back of the hall, "I believe the Assembly's scientific ethics code requires allowing criticism of presented research." Ambassador Clark walked down the central aisle, her diplomatic credentials projecting above her. "As Earth's official representative to the Centauran Alliance, I formally request that Professor Miller be allowed to address the methodological concerns he has identified." The amphitheater erupted in confused sounds as aliens argued among themselves. Krelver's appendages moved in agitated patterns as he consulted with other Centaurians. Zack remained at the microphone. Heart pounding but expression calm, he had revealed himself. There was no going back now. The neural recorder behind his ear continued its work, capturing every moment of the chaos he had just created. The amphitheater remained in chaos for several minutes. Aliens argued loudly in various languages. Some left their seats, while others crowded closer to see the human who had been hiding among them. Krelver raised all 6 of his arms, calling for order. Slowly, the noise died down. "This is highly irregular," he said, his translator making his clicks sound almost angry. "This session was not intended for human observation." "Yet you invited a human scientist," Ambassador Clark pointed out. "Professor Miller received a proper invitation, with credentials that worked on your security systems." "There must have been an error," Krelver insisted. "No error," came a new voice. A tall Arcturian stood up from the front row. "I arranged for the human's invitation. I am Security Director Vostar of the Galactic Council." Surprise rippled through the crowd. Even Krelver seemed shocked. "You deliberately brought a human to this session?" Krelver asked, "without informing me or the other presenters?" "The Council wished to observe how the Centauran Alliance would present its human research," Vostar replied. "Whether you would share accurate information or something else." Zack looked at Ambassador Clark, who appeared as surprised as everyone else. "This was not part of Earth's plan," Vostar continued. "Now I suggest we hear what the human has to say about your research. It seems he has identified issues with your methodology." Trapped by galactic politics, Krelver reluctantly yielded the stage. "Professor Miller may address the gathering," he said. Stepping aside, Zack walked to the center platform, heart pounding, but voice steady. He could feel hundreds of alien eyes watching his every move. The neural recorder behind his ear continued to capture everything. "Thank you for this opportunity," Zack began. "I've listened carefully to Dr. Krelver's presentation about human vulnerabilities. While some observations are accurate, I've noticed several critical errors that undermine the conclusions." He touched the control panel, and the holographic display responded to him. It showed the sleep deprivation data Krelver had presented earlier. "This claims humans become non-functional after 48 hours without sleep," Zack said. "This is incorrect. Humans can remain operational, though at reduced capacity for much longer periods. Military personnel regularly train to function effectively for up to 72 hours in emergency situations." Murmurs spread through the audience. Krelver's assistants checked their data tablets, looking concerned. Zack continued, displaying more of Krelver's claims alongside corrected information. He explained how humans could adapt to isolation, extreme temperatures, and various environmental challenges better than the presentation had suggested. "But the most serious error," Zack said, "is the fundamental misunderstanding of what you perceive as human weaknesses. Our emotional connections aren't vulnerabilities, they're the foundation of our strength." The display changed to show human cooperative effort space missions, disaster responses, scientific breakthroughs achieved through teamwork. "Humans don't sacrifice strategic advantage to save lives out of irrational sentiment," Zack explained. "We do it because our greatest strength is unity through diversity. Each human brings unique perspectives that enhance our collective problem-solving capabilities." As he spoke, Zack noticed the aliens were paying close attention. Some were taking Notes, others were engaged in quiet discussions with neighbors. No one seemed hostile anymore, just intensely curious. Your containment strategies are based on flawed premises, Zack continued. You believe controlling our technology will contain us, but humans excel at finding alternative solutions. You think monitoring space lanes will restrict our movement. But we're already exploring jump point physics that your models don't account for. Ambassador Clark stepped forward. What Professor Miller is diplomatically avoiding saying is that your entire approach is counterproductive. Containment breeds resistance. Restriction creates determination to overcome barriers. She stood beside Zack at the platform. Earth has been aware of your containment policies for some time. We've chosen patience over confrontation, hoping to demonstrate our value as potential allies rather than threats. The amphitheater was completely silent now. Even Crowver seemed unable to respond. Security Director Vostar walked to the platform. The Galactic Council has been monitoring this situation for years. The Centaurian approach to humanity has been ... concerning. Vostar turned to face the audience. This seminar was permitted to proceed under observation. The results confirm what some council members have argued. The Centaurian assessment of humans is deeply flawed and potentially dangerous to galactic stability. Crelver's exoskeleton seemed to pale. The research was conducted with the highest scientific standards. The research was conducted with predetermined conclusions, Vostar interrupted. You sought weaknesses to exploit rather than understanding a new species. Ambassador Clark addressed the gathering. Earth does not seek conflict. We want meaningful participation in galactic affairs based on mutual respect and accurate understanding. This seminar demonstrates how far we are from that goal. Zack added, You've been studying us as potential threats. Perhaps instead you should be considering us as potential allies. After all, he smiled at the still shocked audience. We managed to place a representative in your supposedly secure strategic planning session without any of you noticing until I chose to speak up. A ripple of what might have been nervous laughter moved through the alien crowd. Vostar made a gesture with his upper limbs. This session is officially concluded by Council authority. The Centaurian Research Program on Human Vulnerabilities is suspended pending review. A new initiative for cooperative study will be established, with equal participation from Earth representatives. As the aliens began to file out of the amphitheater, many glanced at Zack with new interest. Some even approached with questions or comments. Their translators working to convert their various languages. Ambassador Clark pulled Zack aside. That was quite a performance, Professor. Revealing yourself was a risk. It seemed like the right moment, Zack replied. Was this all planned? Did you know the Galactic Council was involved? No, she admitted. Earth intelligence suspected the Centaurians were researching human weaknesses, but we had no proof. Your invitation was unexpected. We thought it might be a trap. I was sent to extract you if necessary. So I was bait? Zack asked, surprised. More like an unexpected opportunity, she smiled. And you handled it brilliantly. Your neural recording will provide valuable insights into how the Centaurians and other species view humanity. What happens now? Zack asked, touching the recorder behind his ear. Now we use this incident to push for more open exchange, she replied. The Council's intervention is a significant shift in our favor. They've acknowledged the Centaurian approach was flawed. Nixlara, the blue-skinned scientist Zack had befriended earlier, approached them. Professor Miller, I must apologize. I did not know you were human when we first met. You didn't? Zack was surprised. But you asked me about human communication? Methods. I ask everyone about their species' communication, she said, eyes blinking rapidly. I truly did not recognize you as human. To many of us, different species can appear similar, Zack laughed. So while they were planning a seminar about human weaknesses, they couldn't even identify a human sitting in the third row, Ambassador. Clark finished. I think that says everything about the quality of their research. As they left the amphitheater together, Zack realized something important had changed today. The aliens had been forced to see humans not as subjects to study or threats to contain, but as equals deserving respect, and it had all started because someone had made a simple mistake inviting a human to a seminar about human weaknesses, unaware that he would be sitting there in the third row, learning all their secrets.